Welcome to the Tri-State Audi New York Knicks postgame show. Visit your Tri-State Audi dealer today. On a night where a Cavalier attitude was on display, Knicks allow the most first-half points in a game this season, also their largest first-half deficit this season. First rate for the Cavaliers, first aid for the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau. 142-105, the loss in Cleveland, the 37-point loss, the Knicks' worst this season. As we welcome you inside our MSG studios alongside Alan Hahn, I'm John Giannone. Knicks trailed by double digits just about 7 minutes into this one, Alan, and it really got no better from there.
Yeah, this was a concern on many levels if you're the Knicks, because you are right now in the standings among the top teams in the league, and yet you cannot beat the best teams in the league, and that is something that is going to now chase you the rest of the season as you try to figure out what you're going to be this year. If the Knicks have aspirations to make a run in the playoffs and maybe even win a championship this season, these are the kind of games that you've got to at least be competitive in. And for the most part, when you're playing these teams, and they're going to see the Celtics on Sunday, and they have not been competitive against them, and in this 37-point loss, the worst loss of the season against the Cavaliers team that you haven't seen since October, it does say a lot about where the Knicks really are, not just in the standings, but in comparison to the best teams in the league. And I would have expected a little bit better of an effort defensively in this game, despite the fact you don't have Josh Hart. And OG Anunoby just came back. He's been out for 6 games, trying to get himself acclimated, but he is in the lineup. You just wanted to see a little bit more of a competitive fire from this team in this game. And I'll be curious to hear from the leaders of this team after this game, including Jalen Brunson, who normally speaks without a filter after games like this, and, of course, Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, the Knicks have played 6 games this season against teams that are currently above them in the standings. Boston, Cleveland, Oklahoma City, they are 0-6, 5 of the losses by double digits. When you summarize it by the numbers, of course, they all favor the home team. 61% the Cavaliers shot from the field. Their points in the paint, 66. They out-rebounded the Knicks by 15. They hit 19 threes. There wasn't a single part of the game, Alan, where they weren't utterly dominant against the team that had played the night before, but truth be told, so did the Cavaliers.
Yeah, let everybody know that the Cavaliers were in New York as well last night. They played the Brooklyn Nets, so they flew from New York to Cleveland like the Knicks did last night. So don't talk about the travel or the back-to-back. There was an equal playing field. Of course, one team was home. They had their home crowd, but the Knicks usually play well in Cleveland. We've seen that. The 61% field goal percentage, by the way, is the highest an opponent has shot the ball against the Knicks this season. That also says a lot. The 142 points allowed in regulation, the most points allowed in regulation this season. 19 threes given up. That's now back-to-back games, and the three-point shot has been a major issue. Early in this game, like I said, the Knicks defense was not anywhere intensity-wise where it needed to be for a game like this against an opponent like that.
Yeah, the opponent, the Cleveland Cavaliers, now 10 wins in their last 11. Their average margin of victory in their last 10 wins is 21 points. And certainly 37 for the victory gap tonight would make that number grow even more. The Knicks, as you mentioned, got OG Anunoby back on the court after missing 6 games with a sprained foot. Played 27 minutes in this one, scored only 5 points, probably will at least feel like if he emerges from this one pain-free, that it would have been a positive night.
Probably the most important part, right? Get it back on the floor, get some confidence. OG Anunoby has talked about the biggest thing with him when it comes to injuries is getting the confidence back where he doesn't have to think about it. He can trust it. So for Anunoby to be out there in a play like this, that's vintage, just getting a steal. That's important. You know, him just defending is important. I mean, that's what you want. You need him. That's what you got him for. He's such an impact player. Run the floor and you get a finish there. Not a lot of highlights again for him. He only took 6 shots. That's his other shot that he made, the three-pointer, which is also good to see. He does bring that as well. But with Anunoby, he has missed. It's only 6 games. But remember, it was February 1st when he got hurt. So it's 20 days ago that he has played in an NBA game. So just getting him back into rhythm would be important. He affects so much of the game defensively for you that's why, like this game, you could tell he wasn't all in just yet, too, just coming back from the injury. The good news is he was back in the lineup. but it might take a minute or two for him to get back to what the Knicks were used to seeing from him, especially in the month of January.
Yeah, much to discuss after this 142-105 loss in Cleveland. Let's head back out to Ohio and welcome in Wally Szczerbiak, who called the game on the MSG Radio Network with Tyler Murray. Wally, before the game, we talked about it possibly being either a litmus test or maybe a measuring stick of some kind. What does that test or that stick tell you after what you saw tonight?
You're not in the same league as this team, I can tell you that. At least not with Josh Hart in the lineup and Mitchell Robinson in the lineup, because this team is loaded. Wow, they came out and sent a message. They play fast. They can all shoot. They're deep. That acquisition of DeAndre Hunter, I was really worried when I heard about that one. And you saw what a good acquisition that is, because he's an impact player that can score and defend. And that's exactly what this team needed. The Knicks just have to let this one go. The Cavs played really good basketball, but they have some work to do to compete with the Cavaliers and the Celtics, who they're looking up at if they want to win a championship.
Well, how about Donovan Mitchell? It just seemed like he got into rhythm early, a little bit against some soft defense, and then what he did at the end of that first half with 3 threes and punctuating it, the final 3 right before the buzzer, 24 points in the first half. He really set a tone, didn't he?
Yeah, and it didn't even look like it was hard. I mean, the shots that Cleveland generated, I said it on the radio broadcast, I think I'm a little more concerned with the Knicks competing with the Cavaliers because they couldn't take anything away from these guys. There were a bunch of different guys that were getting whatever they wanted. They got 4 dunks to start the game. They were getting layups whenever they wanted, and the Knicks were trying to take away the threes. But then when they tried to take away the paint, the threes opened up. So this team really was clicking on all cylinders. In the Knicks, it was concerning to me the way they couldn't make anything difficult for the Cavaliers.
So, Wally, you started off by saying Knicks have to get over this. They have to forget about it. Speak to the challenge of doing that between now and less than 48 hours from now when they have to play the, oh, by the way, 40-16 Celtics in Boston.
Well, they got a little bit of rest in the fourth quarter, that's for sure. I think it was smart of Tom Thibodeau to let his starters rest on a back-to-back and gear up for that game. Listen, the Knicks are competitors. They're winners in that locker room. The Knicks are the 3rd best team in the East. So I expect them to regroup and figure out a way to compete against the Boston Celtics. They didn't play well against Chicago. They just played a really bad basketball team. That Chicago Bulls team is ripped down to the studs, and they almost lost it. It had to go to overtime to get that game last night. So they came in here and played the best team in the league, and they didn't even look like they belonged on the floor, quite honestly. It's one game in the regular season, though. That's the only thing about it. Tom Thibodeau's a great coach. He's going to make adjustments. One thing I will say, though, what Ty Jerome was doing, I don't think that was smart. I really don't think that was smart. Let a sleeping dog lie. Yeah. You don't want to give the Knicks any motivation. You got to see the Knicks 2 more times. The Knicks beat you in the playoffs the last time you met them 2 years ago. You don't want to give the Knicks anything to hold their hat on to kind of get them going, because if you just blow the Knicks out this meeting, the Knicks come in the next couple meetings and they're like, how do we figure out a way to compete with this team? I noticed the Knicks bench was not happy with some of the antics that the Cleveland Cavaliers were doing. And hey, everyone, marches to the beat of their own drum. That's how Ty Jerome felt like he wanted to play it. But I wouldn't have done that if I was him, because the Knicks are going to come out with some fire, I think, next time they see that team.
Wally, good stuff. Thanks for joining us. Travel safely.
You got it, boys. See ya.
Wally Szczerbiak in Cleveland. You're nodding your head on that. Ty Jerome scored 19 points, but was bombs away when the game was well out of reach.
Yeah, and we saw him also gesturing to the Knicks bench. You and I saw that one time when he did, and he was just having some fun. Again, a New York guy, of course, playing against his hometown team. But this isn't, this isn't an isolated incident with the Cavs. Tristan Thompson, who's a veteran now on their bench, he also ruffled some feathers, getting a late dunk in a blowout win as well, and it started an altercation. Like they've got a little bit of that swagger going on now because of the season they're having and the record that they have. But I'm glad that Wally brought that up because, again, look, to the victors go the spoils. And when you get blown out like that, you have nothing to say. Remember Trae Young did the rolling of the dice thing, and then first thing Jalen Brunson said was, well, if you want to stop him from doing it, you got to beat him. So there's nothing that you can say right now, but it doesn't mean you don't file it away. And remember, because as Wally said, This is only the first of 3 meetings now in the post-All-Star break before the playoffs with this Cavaliers team. They're going to see him twice more. They're going to have to play a lot better than this. And I think that's something you got to focus on more than anything. The best pick-and-roll offense against one of the worst pick-and-roll defenses. And boy, did that show tonight.
April 2nd in Cleveland, April 11th, the next to last game of the year at the Garden. Those are the last 2 meetings between the Knicks and the Cavaliers.